Alright, hey everybody, so today we're going to talk about some different ways that we can represent mathematical ideas. So there's four big ways that we can do this. One is verbal, tabular, graphical, and symbolic. And when I say tabular, what I mean is in the form of a table. Okay? So to get us started, let's consider an idea that's given in symbolic form. This is kind of like a typical way of starting or being given information. So here's some information that's given to us in symbolic form. Y is equal to 2x minus 1. In other words, a number is equal to 2 times another number minus 1. So in another video we talked about domain and range, meaning inputs and outputs, right? So this is a function also that accepts an input here in the place of x. X is typically the letter that we use to represent the inputs into a function, and y is typically the letter that we use to represent the outputs from a function. So this function would accept an input into this place x, and would give you output in this place y. So what this means is, pick a number, and put it into this function, and you'll multiply that number by 2, and then subtract 1 from it, and you'll get some other number, okay? So this is some information that's given to you in symbolic form. The upside to symbolic form is, it's very concise. Downside is sometimes it can be a bit confusing. So if we wanted to take this information and transform it into one of the other ways that we can represent this idea, like verbally, how that would sound is like this. 2 times a number minus 1. So you put a number into the function, what happens is you're going to multiply that number by 2 and subtract 1. And you'll get some output, right? As a table, it looks like this. So this is tabular form, or in other words, in the form of a table. On the left side of the table, you have your inputs into the function. On the right-hand side of the table, you have your outputs from the function. So what this table is expressing is exactly this idea, that when you put these numbers in, you get these numbers out. Okay? But again, it's a different representation of the exact same information, 2x minus 1, a number times 2 minus 1. Okay? One thing I do want you to notice about this table, though, is that this is not all possibilities of inputs that you can put into that function. If the domain isn't specified in a function, then what that means is that it's assumed to be all real numbers. So this table is only showing a small sample of the numbers that you could actually put into that function, because really there's an infinite number of numbers that you can put into that function. And here is the same, finally, here is the same information presented in graphical form. So you could take each one of these points from the table. So for example, when you put negative 2 into the function, what comes out is negative 5. Well, you can start, these are called ordered pairs. These are points that we can put on a coordinate plane. When negative 2 goes in, negative 5 comes out. And that is this point right here, negative 2 on the x-axis, which represents the domain, or the inputs, and negative 5 on the y-axis, which represents the outputs. And as a bonus, there's another useful form called a mapping that looks really similar to the table, only it's really explicit about what is inputs and outputs. So for example, mapping of this function would look like this, where we have the domain here, or the numbers that you can input into the function, and range here, the numbers that can possibly come out of the function. And then you can just take some information from the table. We don't have to do them all. And we would just draw arrows like this. Just yet another way that we can represent the exact same idea, which is a number times 2 minus 1. And this is just explicit in showing that this is a beginning set and an ending set. This is what you put in, and when you put this number in, this is what you get out. So make it your challenge yourself as you progress through the years of mathematics to, when you are given information in one form or another, get yourself comfortable with being able to represent that idea in different ways, and it will help you to achieve a more deeper understanding of what you're learning. All right, that's it for today.